I'd like to call this meeting in the Lammersville Unified Board of Education Facilities Committee to order at 6:30. Please silence or turn down your cell phones at this time. I apologize. We don't typically do the Pledge of Allegiance at this meeting, correct?
No, we don't.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Stephanie Olson,
Absent.
David Pombo,
Here.
Jason Dixon,
Here.
Thorsten Harrison,
Here.
Prabjot Madan,
Absent.
Ratan Kanthala.
Here.
Receiving of public comments. I see no public comments, so we'll move on to facilities use update. Item A, facilities use minutes, staff report.
So these are the minutes from our last meeting. If you haven't reviewed them, if you could take a quick look at them and approve those minutes, be great.
The meeting minutes look fine unless anyone finds issue with them. Moving on to item B, finance report, staff report.
So on the following page, you'll see the finance report for the money's in and money's out when it comes to facilities use. You'll see that we have a balance of $319,889. We still have a couple of encumbrances on there that haven't been paid for yet, things that we have approved to pay for, this committee's approved to pay for that we haven't done yet as a district, but the balance still stands at $319,889.
Any questions? Thank you. Moving on to item C, facilities usage report, staff report.
Okay, if we look at the facility usage for all groups, the times that are being used, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. is our biggest times for use after school. And if you look at the elementary schools, this time of year, our biggest use of is the multi-purpose rooms on campuses and the fields outside. If we look at Costa, the fields outside right now, they have a grass issue. We're still working on the grass, so there's not a lot of usage there, but the NPR is being used at Costa. And then when we get down to the high school has a lot more usage, just by far our most used facility. The fields, the gyms, the weight room, press box, everything has a lot of usage there, as you can see. Again, the community and the sports teams at the high school, this is by far the most used facility we have.
Are there outside uses of the weight room?
No outside uses of the weight room.
I wasn't aware of any. You mentioned the weight room and I was,
Just the sports
Team
teams
use.
at schools. Yes, sir.
thank you. Any other questions on the facilities use report? Moving on to item D, denied applications, staff report.
So on denied applications, we have only 4. 2 were because we just didn't have the space for them at the time, and then 2 others, they're incorrect dates, and then they may review the calendar for the next time for the updated available that they can request there.
Thank you. Item E, reimbursements to organizations. Staff report.
So there are only 3 refunds to report. 2 were deposit refunds, and 1 was just a canceled permit that they got a refund for.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5, information and discussion items. Item A, water fill stations. Staff report.
So this item was brought forward by Trustee Pombo multiple times, and we started on this item many moons ago to try to get water fill stations on our school sites. Just a little history: our maintenance and operations staff got some quotes from contractors to install water fill stations, and at the time and now the cost is very prohibitive. It's very, very expensive. So I brought back those costs to this group, and this committee tasked me with going back out to our staff to see if we could mitigate some of the costs and do some of the work ourselves. So what you see up on the screen, maybe, that is Mayor Khan, who is one of our maintenance or facilities guys. And he is installing the first water fill station that we are doing from start to finish on our own at Lammersville. The only thing that we are not completing on the install is the electrical. And we're using Collins Electric, who is our contract electrician. Collins Electric will connect the water fill station. So the good news is that we've mitigated the costs by about 80%. The water fill station costs approximately $1,234, and the install for the electrical costs approximately $1,000. If there is a need for modified plumbing, we will use a plumber. But if it's a straight shot in, our guys can do it. Which is what the case is here at this school, and will be the case at Wickland, Bethany, and Cuesta when we move on to those school sites.
This fill station, is this the one that the school foundation purchased and our guys are installing?
It is. And the Bethany Foundation has also requested to purchase some water fill stations, so they're going to purchase the same water fill station after we've looked at install to make sure that it fits at Bethany. So our guys have been trained on how to install them. Jimmy has trained our guys on how to do the installation. And so moving forward, we're hopeful that we can get going a little faster on this project and get some water fill stations, both. I think the water faucet / bottle fill, I think those are a good model. At Wickland, we may do a double, the double water fill with a water faucet, just because of how wide the water faucets are at Wickland, so we don't have a gap in the wall for practicality. So that's the water fill station update.
Very good. Looks good, thank you. Moving on to item B, any questions or comments on the water fill station?
No, Mr. Bowman.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, large groups, extra custodial fees after events, cleanup. Staff report.
So Jason Dixon is going to take this, but he came to me 2 weeks ago after we had a very large event in the football stadium. And then we had another large event in another facility at the high school. And what he found is that there are some challenges after the event with getting things ready for kids the following day or the day after. So Jason's going to give a presentation on large groups and what he feels we need to do or consider moving forward. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. So my recommendation is that any large groups that we put a number on, I recommend around 2,000 people or more. We're starting to have these bigger events. We consider charging an extra day of custodial for the next day so the custodian can come in and clean, or 2 custodians for 4 hours can come in and just deep clean the area. What we've run into is we have good groups, but they take a long time getting out of there. So if they say we're getting out at 10, it's usually 11 or 12. And then what happens is they're trying to clean around them and still clean things up as they're moving things, and they just can't get a good cleaning. The schools aren't ready when the kids come back on Monday, so we have the football field still got paper on it or trash, or for instance, this time the school board had something we needed to clean off of it. Those things could be taken care of the next day when there's nobody around, just to kind of get that deep cleaning. If we didn't need that, it's always easier to collect the fees up front, and then if not, we could always refund that later. But I would recommend that we charge that extra 8 hours of custodial so that we can clean the facilities the way they need to be cleaned. At the high school, the next weekend at the gym, when they were using it for the cheerleading competition, it was just all the bathrooms were used and all the supplies were used, and so it was still dirty to get in there and clean, and so they were still cleaning Monday morning when the kids were coming in. So it's just my suggestion that we have that so that we can do the cleaning properly for those larger groups, as we're starting to get more of those.
And do you think that 2,000 is a good number rather than 1,500 or some other?
1,500 might be appropriate. I just know that the groups have been growing larger year over year. I know the previous year, 2,000 was kind of pushing it. So that's why I kind of just came up with that number. It's not anything that I've done any research on or anything. So 1,500 might be appropriate. That would definitely cover it. Like I say, if we didn't need it, we could always refund it the next day. It's just easier to do it all at first and have it just in case we need it.
Well, my longstanding opinion is that while I'm all for outside groups using our facilities when they're available, I'm adamantly opposed to anything that takes away from the availability to our kids or anything that costs the district out of pocket for these events. So I have no issue with doing this. And as you said, if the extra money is not, if the extra hours for custodial are not required, we can always refund the money, but I don't have an issue with it.
No questions. But how we will let the teams know, like whether we use the custodians or we haven't used, we will be letting them know next day, or like?
Well, my guess would be that they'll know up front that there'll be that extra charge, and that if it's not needed, they'll be refunded just like they're refunded any other monies that aren't required.
So currently we charge them based on the hours that they're needed that day for cleaning, and so they already know ahead of time what that charge is, and so we just add that to it, just as it would be a normal charge, and then if they didn't need it, we could do the refund. But it's been pretty clear lately as we get to these larger groups that it is needed. We just can't clean around them at night because they're still just trying to get people out of there. You know,
So, do you think 2,000 is a good number to start with? Because we can always just put it as a addendum in the handbook, like we do. Try it at 2,000, and if that holds firm, then we could make it permanent in the facilities handbook. But if not, we could always make it an addendum the following next year as well, while we're figuring it out, right? And go from there.
we could change it if it.
That's fine. Whatever, I'm fine with whatever number you guys are comfortable with.
Okay. So we'll just call it 2,000 in the short term and go from there and see how it goes with the big groups. And at some point, we may have to differentiate by facility too. I mean, 2,000 people in a gym versus 2,000 people in a stadium or on a field they're very different, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can try to make sure we're keeping track and go from there.
Are there, I guess the gym at the large gym at the high school will accommodate like 2,200 or 2,500 or something, right?
Yep.
So that is a possibility to have an event that would, like a basketball tournament, for instance.
The event that was in the gym recently was a cheerleading tournament, I believe, and so there was a lot of different groups, so a lot of different people coming in and out all day long. So it was well over 2,000 people.
And we might have the same thing with the pool with water polo tournaments, because I know that water polo tournaments can get pretty big, and they tend to spread out. So that might be something as well. So, all right. You have enough information, Jason? Okay.
Moving on to item C, staff report.
So I asked this to be added. This item was a request from this group a little over a year ago, when the solar panels were put into our schools a year prior. Mr. Pombo mentioned that the cement bollards that hold up the solar panels at Cuesta specifically are in the field proper. And so I asked Director Dixon to do some research, and this is what he's come up with.
Okay, so these are at Cuesta, and they are in the fields where the kids are playing. There's always a chance that they could run into them. They're just a concrete base. If you look at this first one here, this took some time to research and find something that would work for these, just because of the size of them. It's an odd size, and they're very big. This has a rubber base, as you can see in the middle there, with two plastic foam-filled plastic ends that will come together, and you strap them down. That'll go around the pole. Now, it looks really clean here. This is a little more expensive. These run about $1,000 per pole. That's not an official quote. That's just kind of what I put together from this one in the website. And then approximately there's 18 poles, so we're looking at $18,000 to $20,000 to do them like this. Now, these are weather resistant. They are under the shade as well, so they're going to last a while out there. There is another option on the next slide. It's more of kind of what you would find wrapped around a football field goal post. Now, this one here looks very clean because it was made for the size of that pole. Again, ours is bigger, so for the size that the pad comes in, it's going to look a little bulky because it's going to go around about 2/3 of it, and then the other pad would wrap around that one. So it's just going to be kind of an odd fit, but it would be cheaper. So you're looking at about $335 per pole. So you'd probably come in a little less than $7,000 or $8,000. But big options, there are two options there. There's a big difference in price and then what they might look like compared to each other. But those are the options that we came up with. They're both weather resistant. Again, they're both under that shade, so they're made to last. But
On the second option where you said they're not the right size, would it be possible to trim them so that they would, rather than overlapping, you could just fill in that?
not the second one. So the second ones are kind of like sewn into a padding, like the football field. They're made to go around it. The first ones, yes, so they can be trimmed. So as the two connect and there's a gap on the other side, another one can be trimmed and put in there and then strapped down to make it look, very clean.
So the second option are made more like old style blocking dummies or something, like a big canvas covered pillow.
Correct. I think that, I don't know, but if kids were to sit there and pick at them for a while, they might tear them. The other ones are a hard plastic. It's a bendable, moldable plastic, and it's filled with a soft foam, so for impact, but they can't peel them, and that kind of thing. You'd have to actually cut them with something.
I like the idea of something that's not damageable, because you could use something similar to the wrestling mats to wrap around them, but those aren't very durable. So
Right.
if kids pick at them or whatever, they're probably gonna come apart.
I agree. That's kind of the second option there. It's kind of the same thing.
Are they coming with any warranty?
There's no warranty on them. Yeah.
And so when we talked about this, we talked about using facilities use fees to pay for these, which I think would be appropriate because it's protecting the field users from the cement ballers. Now the field's pretty far off, but I could see somebody running over on over going too far off the sideline and running into it, which is what our concern was initially. So
Yeah, well, I think we have to look at it from a safety and / liability standpoint as far as somebody potentially being injured by inadvertently running into a concrete girder.
So, which one do you think's more durable? Obviously the more expensive one, I would assume.
The first one is a lot more durable.
right? So I think we should go with that, and I can bring it to the board, the full board, for approval using facilities use fees. Are everybody good with that?
That sounds reasonable to me.
Okay. And so you'll get a quote.
I'll get a quote and see what this poll's actually already done. So we did a test run just to see what that. So I only need to do 17, but I'll get a quote for an actual and then see what that looks like.
All right.
Great.
Sounds good. Moving on to item 6, future agenda topics and meeting dates. Staff report?
I would like to bring back water fill stations to the next meeting again, give an update of what we've gotten finished and where we are with water fill stations. I'm trying to hold our staff to account for that.
They can probably be a standing item until we're done with it.
It probably could. Yeah. But I think we've done a pretty good job mitigating the costs of those because I think we were looking at $9,000 per water fill station when we got the last quote. And that was just gouging us. So getting them done for $2,200 per water fill station with staff time. Now, staff time does cost money, but I think it's a good deal. So,
But it's one thing about staff time, it can be scheduled so you're not taking staff away from something else. It's built into their schedule. So
which is why it's taken us a while to get them done. Yes. Yeah. Any other items that you want brought forward?
I can't think of anything
Okay.
at this time.
Talk about this group, the late payments.
Oh yes, this is one of the things that we bring to this, and we have a group that has been late on their payments, and how many times?
So it's been a lot, but after a final warning, we've had 7 notices of late payment again. I want to say they do pay, but we're always chasing that down and chasing the money. So they're constantly late even after the warning letters.
And so how many letters have they received from your department?
So they've received 3 letters. The final warning letter was in, it looks like May, and since then we've still had 7 notices for late payment. Continues to be a problem.
So traditionally what we do is we give them a number of warning letters, and we give a lot of warning letters. What we've done in the past is we give a warning letter and then they'll lose their status, meaning that if they're a group 1, they no longer are group 1. If they're group 2, they're no longer group 2. They move to the end of the line behind everyone else that rents facilities. And usually what we do is, previously I brought people that we have not allowed to use our facilities anymore because of no payment or damaging our facilities. Those are the 2 previous actions we've taken that I recall in this group. So your thoughts are ban them.
So my thoughts are, there's a possibility for a 1-year banning. I hate to take away, activities for the kids. I do hate that, but at the same time, that we're not getting any traction here either. And so we have other people trying to use the facilities, and that's where we're kind of at with that.
I think it would probably be unfair to ban them without warning them if, you know, if this happens again,
Okay.
this will be the consequence.
We can do that.
Can do it. Yep.
And you want us to bring, what we can do is send that letter to them and then bring it to this group, and after we've done it, and then go from there. Does that work? I think the thing that is frustrating is there's a lot of other groups in line
Yes.
that could take their spot, and you know, we're not losing money. They're not paying on time. They're not following our rules, right? And all these other people, we have how many users? 380 users.
Roughly.
380 active users of our facilities, and all these other people are following the rules and doing it right. You know,
Do we charge a fee if they're for late payments like everybody else in the world does?
I don't believe we charge a late fee.
we can. It's in our handbook, but we've been nice and we haven't done it. So we could charge them a late fee. Start there with a fee and a warning letter, if we want to do that, because we can do that.
Anyway, I just hate to say, you know, you're late, and without letting them know that a possible consequence of continued tardiness is banning.
That
I'm going to send out a letter, and I'll attempt to make direct contact with the group as well, just to kind of reinforce that once they get the letter, and let them know that that's kind of where they stand from, you know, where we're at.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you all. Anything further? All right. We stand adjourned at 6:55.